despite the fact that I consume a lot of true crime material, I had never heard of Cokeville Elementary, so when I came across the Cokeville Miracle, I was really curious to see what this was like. And I have to say, it's quite a strong film, and it is not an easy watch in the slightest. But I will also say that because this is my introduction to this, and I have done a tiny bit of reading after the fact, but the point there is that because this is my introduction to Cokeville Elementary, I don't know how factually accurate this is. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, please feel free to share. This was released in 2015. It's directed and written by T.C. Christensen, and it's based on The Cokeville Miracle When Angels Intervene by Hart Wixom and Jadine Wixom. And that angels aspect there is important because there is actually a religious angle to this, which I wasn't expecting. I didn't expect this to be a faith-based film going into it, and I thought that was quite interesting, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. This takes place in 1986, and it's about the Cokeville Elementary School hostage crisis. And Cokeville Elementary School is a school in Cokeville, Wyoming, and David Young and Doris Young took the children and the teachers hostage. And I won't go into too much detail about why or the motivations. Obviously, the film details these things, so I won't spoil too much. But I felt sick all the way through. It was absolutely horrible, but in a way that was very effective and very powerful. And I found it to be an incredibly intense, moving experience, and I cried so much, particularly in the second half, because getting emotional just thinking about it. There are obviously a lot of really scary moments, and what I particularly found to be very moving was the teachers and how they handled this, trying to keep the children calm, not really allowing the children to know exactly what was happening to prevent them from panicking, and how everybody in this everybody handled it. And there was one, in fact I'll mention that at the end, but there's one person in particular who I just thought was incredible, and that's kind of the point where I started to cry quite a lot. And obviously we have a lot of faith-based moments where people are praying, and we have the angels aspect, and I won't really give away too much about that, but that made it all the more moving and powerful. And I struggled to keep it together for, I'd say, definitely the final third, but certainly a good half of the film. And in general, it's not an easy watch, but I'm pleased that it introduced me to this, because there were some very courageous people, some very difficult moments that were hard to watch, but at the same time uplifting, because of, obviously we have the evil of humanity with people holding these children hostage, and the goodness of humanity, mostly with the adults helping the children, and also some of the children as well. And it was an emotional roller coaster, but it worked so well. And again, I don't know how accurate it is, but judging it purely in the film, it's absolutely, well, it's emotional and it's powerful, and I can't recommend it enough. I know not everybody will love the faith-based aspect, and that's absolutely fine, but if it does sound like your kind of film, I'd say absolutely check it out. If you're familiar with the hostage crisis and you're aware of what happened in the real situation, if there are any differences, please feel free to let me know. I'd love to learn more about that. And the technical aspects are fine, the camera works fine, the lighting's fine, the pacing of the story is fine, everything about it worked well. And ultimately, if it sounds like a film for you, if you like films based on true stories, as long as you're feeling moderately emotionally stable, then I'd say it might be worth watching. And I will now mention the moment where I kind of lost it a little bit, and because I learned about the true story surrounding it, it was a true, something that genuinely happened. And unfortunately, I didn't write down the name of the individual, and I feel absolutely terrible for that. So if anybody knows her name, please do let me know. I couldn't find it online. And what I'm about to say is a huge, huge spoiler for how things ended up. So that's worth bearing in mind. If you don't want to know what happened until you watch the film, this is a big spoiler. But what happened is that there was a woman, in fact, okay, I've just gone back to the film. It's only right that I get her name right, because what she did was amazing. Verlene Bennion stayed behind until all of the children were out. According to the film, if that's accurate, she made sure all of the children were out, and absolutely amazing. Absolutely incredible. Also, I was not prepared to watch the ending of the film again. So absolutely wonderful. Just highlighting the goodness of humanity when the arguably one of the worst possible things is happening is just, it's incredible. And it really, watching these horrible, nasty people doing this hostage, and then we have just so selfless goodness like that. It really restores faith in humanity while we're watching these evil acts. And yeah, not an easy watch in the slightest, but if it sounds like for you, then I'd say the Cokeville Miracle is definitely worth watching.